girls in cybersecurity. And thank you very much. Have a great day. And the moderator, I have just taken 5 minutes extra, so please forgive me. Because
Yeah, it's no worries at all, doctor. We are very pleased to have you with us in this session. It's a great
thank you.
pleasure. We are very much honored. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you very much, doctor. Dua Zainab, you can unmute yourself. It's actually you are mute.
No, she is in mute.
Dua, you are mute.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. That was truly insightful and incredibly inspiring talk. And if anyone from the audience has any question, please feel free to ask at this moment. Since there are no further questions, we will now move forward with our international speaker sessions. And now I'm handing over the stage to Ishmael. Please, Ishmael, continue.
Sorry for the interruption. Ishmael, you are not audible. Yes.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So just let me share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, Dr. Sharma, it is visible.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Afternoon or evening for everyone. So thank you so much for having me. I'm genuinely delighted to be here. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at AI Explain New Science, and I research the intersection of artificial intelligence and organizational life, how AI changes what organizations can do, what it does to the people inside them, and critically, what happens when AI systems go wrong in ways that no one predicted. So today I want to talk about something I believe is the next frontier in cybersecurity. And it has nothing to do with firewalls, encryption, or zero trust architecture. It has to do with algorithms and the question of who controls them, who can challenge them, and what happens when no one is accountable for what they do. So when we talk about cybersecurity, we talk about protecting data, securing networks, defending systems from external attack. That work is essential. But there's a question the field hasn't fully reckoned with. What about the threat that comes from inside the system? Not from a hacker, from the algorithm itself. Who decides when the AI is wrong? Who can challenge a decision that an algorithm made about you? And who is accountable when an AI system causes harm? These are not abstract philosophical questions. They are security questions because an AI system that no one can challenge, that no one is accountable for, and that no one can override when it fails is a threat. And right now, most organizations have no answer for any of them. So let me make this concrete, because when I say AI is making decisions, I'm not talking about science fiction. A bank uses an AI system to decide whether you get a loan, not a human, an algorithm. And if it says no, you may never know why. Your CV is screened by AI before a recruiter ever reads it. One wrong keyword, one formatting choice rejected. In healthcare, AI systems triage patients, prioritize care, allocate resources. A documented study shows that a widely used algorithm systemically underestimated the care needs of Black patients compared to white patients with equivalent health conditions, invisible to standard performance metrics. In some justice systems, AI risk scores influence bail decisions and sentencing. And in security context, your behavior patterns, your network connections, your digital footprint, AI decides whether to flag you as a potential threat. This is not hypothetical. This is now. And the question of who governs these systems is the cybersecurity question of our generation. So I want to name three threats that I believe are as serious as any malware or data breach, and that most cybersecurity frameworks are not yet equipped to address. The first is opacity. We have built AI systems that produce outcomes no one can fully explain, not the developers, not the organizations deploying them, certainly not the people affected. An explainable system is, by definition, a non-governable one, and a non-governable system is a security threat. The second is dependency. We have reached a point where many organizations cannot make critical decisions without their AI systems, and where the muscle memory of independent human judgment is atrophying. What happens when the system fails or produces a result that is technically correct but ethically catastrophic? If no one knows how to override this confidently, that is security vulnerability. The third is unaccountability. The algorithm decided. I hear this phrase constantly. It is not an explanation, it is an abdication of responsibility. Every algorithmic decision was designed by a human, deployed by an organization, and is affecting a real person. Someone is accountable. The question is whether we have the governance structures to say who. Opacity, dependency, and accountability, these are the threats that need to be on the cybersecurity agenda. So, my research produced a framework called STAIF, the Socio-Technical AI Integration Framework. I want to share it with you because each of its 4 dimensions is a cybersecurity dimension as much as a management one. CRC, constructive resistance capacity. When employees resist an AI system, they are frequently detecting something real, a design flaw, a governance gap, a security vulnerability. The question is whether the organization has structure to receive that signal rather than suppress it. ARCC, AI ready cultural conditions. Secure AI requires organizational cultures where it's psychologically safe to question algorithmic decisions, where people feel they can say, I don't trust this output. That is not a failure of adoption, it is a security mechanism. ATA, algorithmic trust architecture. This is the governance layer. Explainability structures, formal rights to challenge, AI decisions, accountability chains, and human override protocols. This is the architecture of algorithmic security. AEI, algorithmic equity infrastructure. The process for detecting and correcting AI-driven disparate impact across demographic groups, because inequitable AI is not just an ethical problem, it is a security and legal liability. So together, these 4 dimensions constitute the organizational security layer for AI. The governance infrastructure that sits between an AI system and the harm it can cause. So let me go deeper on the algorithmic trust architecture. Think of ATA as the access control and audit framework for AI systems. Just as you wouldn't deploy a network without defining who has access, what they can do, and what gets locked, you shouldn't deploy an AI system without defining these 4 things. First, who gets what kind of explanation? The person whose loan was denied needs a different explanation than the data scientists reviewing the model. Layered explainability is about building audience-specific explanation pathways into the system from the start. Second, what happens when someone challenges an AI decision? Not a theoretical question, a structural one. Is there a formal process? Who reviews it? Is also dangerous.
So let me ask you something. The more connected your systems are, the more data you share, the more partners you integrate, are you more powerful or more vulnerable? So, both. That's the paradox of digital transformation. The same connectivity that fuels innovation expands your attack surface. Think about APIs, connecting patterns, think about cloud infrastructures, think about remote work environments. We build speed, but we also build exposure. So, when we speak about cybersecurity, we usually refer to three principles. We have confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But let's translate this to business language. Confidentiality means customers trust you. Integrity means your decisions are based on reliable data. And availability means your business does not stop. Without availability, innovation is irrelevant. Without integrity, analytics is useless. And without confidentiality, reputation disappears. So, cybersecurity is not technical protection, it is strategic survival. I don't know if you remember, like in 2024, something fascinating happened. A cybersecurity company called CrowdStrike released an update, but that update caused a global IT disruption affecting systems dependent on Microsoft infrastructure. Airline stopped, banks slowed, public institutions were impacted. Here's what makes this interesting. The protection mechanism became the vulnerability for these companies. That's what we call systemic interdependence. And then, in hyper-connected ecosystems, security failures scale instantly. When I was conducting my study about digital transformation in Morocco in relationship to cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is one of the main dimensions of digital transformation, something interesting emerged. Cybersecurity was never discussed alone. It was always connected to regulation. So, data protection laws, financial supervision, national digital strategies. So, in digital transformation, you don't innovate in a vacuum. You innovate inside legal boundaries. You're not that free. And then the question becomes, are those boundaries protective or restrictive? Innovation requires sharing ideas, but would you share sensitive data with a partner if you don't trust their security systems? Of course not. Cybersecurity creates psychological safety, and psychological safety drives creativity. This makes it more leadership oriented. As we all know, security is not only firewalls or encryption, it is culture. When employees believe systems are secure, they experiment more. When they fear breaches, they hesitate. Insecure systems can create a conservative behavior toward innovation. That's invisible innovation loss. So let's move from internal innovation to market adoption, because in my PhD thesis, I worked on both, on the internal innovation, which encompasses ideation, and I also worked on innovation diffusion, which is related to market adoption. So why do some people hesitate to use online banking, especially in Morocco? Why do some companies delay cloud migration? It's not because the technology is weak, because perceived security is weak. Trust determines diffusion speed, and diffusion determines innovation impact. Security must not only exists, it must be visible. When customers see two-factor authentication, clear privacy policies, secure transaction confirmations, they feel reassured. So in digital markets, perception is strategic. So instead of just reading findings about how can this cyber security affect the Moroccan sector, because I worked on two sectors, telecommunication sector and banking sector. I might say that in telecommunications, I found that regulation acted almost like a structured playground. Companies knew the rules, and within those rules, they innovated. However, in banking, compliance layers are heavier, more approvals, more validations, more audits. In that context, regulation felt slower, sometimes even restrictive. So this shows that security does not impact all sectors equally. So, is regulation the enemy of innovation? Not necessarily. Rigid regulation slows innovations. Adaptive regulation, disciplines innovation. Security without flexibility becomes bureaucracy, and flexibility without security becomes chaos. So imagine here that we have three organizations. One ignores security. Innovation collapses after the first incident. We have another one who over controls everything. So here innovation suffocates, as it's the case for banking sector. One balances adaptive security with agility. Here the innovation becomes sustainable. So the third model is mainly the future. So to end up my presentation, I might say that digital transformation increases openness. Openness increases vulnerability. Vulnerability increases security. Security builds trust, and trust enables innovation. And innovation drives competitiveness in the market. So, cybersecurity is not the main obstacle. It is an architecture of sustainable digital transformation. And with this, I say thank you. Thank you for having me. And if anyone has any questions, I'm here.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Hello, what is
Ma'am, I have a question. How does cybersecurity shift from being just a risk mitigation to becoming an enabler of innovation and digital transformation?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat your question? I couldn't understand all what you said.
How does cybersecurity shift from being just a risk mitigation to becoming an enabler of innovation or digital transformation?
You're saying why cybersecurity shifts from being what?
Ma'am, I say, how does cybersecurity shift from being just a risk mitigation tool to becoming an enabler of innovation and digital transformation?
So, mainly the framing of cybersecurity purely as a risk mitigation function is outdated in research. In digital ecosystems, cybersecurity is positioned as the strategic enabler of innovation, not just as defensive layer. So the shift is structural, driven by changes in technology, architectures, regulatory pressures, and business models, things I was talking about all over the presentation. I hope I was brief.
Okay, ma'am.
All right, I guess we do not have any further question from Dr. Giptita Ibrahimi. And I would also like to personally thank up her. Really personally like her. I don't know, but she is doing very well and good in her research, in her postdoc. And thank you very
Thank
much,
you
Dr.
very much, dear.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
very much,
Dr.
dear.
That was so powerful and so inspiring to hear this from you, and we truly appreciate you being here with us and giving us your precious time. We are on such a roll today, everyone. The energy is not so good, I can say, but yeah, that we are having some questions, so it is good, I guess. So there's much more to come now. So for next session, I would like to hand over this session to Dua Zainab. Dua will take the next session well away. So let's have a short break, I guess. For some yes.
How does cybersecurity enable innovation instead of just preventing risk?
I guess Mubashir, you can write it down in the chat box because it would be more clear. Then we are having some speakers with. Sure, Dr. Sharma, you can go ahead.
Thank you. So that's a huge question you just asked. So
yeah.
Cybersecurity is often described as a shield, but in practice, it also acts as an enabler of innovation, like you said. So organizations are more willing to build new digital products, adopt emerging technologies, and share data when they just trust that systems are secure, resilient, and compliant. So let me just give you some ways cybersecurity drives innovation rather than just reducing risk. First, it creates trust in new technologies. People and businesses only adopt innovation if they believe they are safe. So, for example, online banking succeeded because customers trusted encryption and fraud protection. Do you get me? And secondly, it enables faster digital transformation because modern cybersecurity practice help organizations move faster, not slower. For example, secure cloud architectures allow companies to scale globally in days instead of months. And third, it protects intellectual property and research. So research and development data, trade secrets, AI models, product prototypes. Fourth, it enables safe data sharing and collaboration. It also supports regulatory compliance and markets access. It encourages experimentation through resilience. It drives innovation within cybersecurity itself. So many advances in computing, networking, and artificial intelligence are accelerated by security challenges. So I hope I understood. I answered your huge question.
Yes, Mubashir, you can go ahead. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, for your this much answer. It was very helpful, I guess. I hope so. Yes, Mubashir, you can ask.
So,
okay, so like he's asking that why is cybersecurity considered the backbone of digital transformation?
That's what we just said. It's all about digital transformation. I just answered that question.
Yeah, I also agree that it is aligned with that one, I guess.
Exactly. So, in other words,
Helena, I'm sorry. I thought we were taking a break. You said we were taking a break, so
yeah. No worries at all. Actually, just taking a break, but are having many good questions, many big questions, I can say. So we are just trying to answer them. Dr. Geeta
You
Ibrahimi,
should
you can also contribute yourself.
you should have them told me in WhatsApp so I can join. I told we were taking a break, so
Yeah, okay, that's great though. So in the chat box, someone is asking the question, and I am dictating that loud. I can also do that for you. So he's asking that why is cybersecurity considered the backbone of digital transformation?
uh, let me think. Um, basically, when we talk about technology, we talk about data, connectivity, and trust. And I think cybersecurity is what makes all these three viable at a scale. So all these digital transformation initiatives, if we're talking about digital technologies cannot survive without, I may say, protection. Um, because if we don't have cybersecurity, we will have more attacks, like the example I've talked about, the CrowdStrike example, data breaches, vulnerabilities in the system. So this is why we use cybersecurity in its three dimensions, as I already said: the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So we can say that these three guarantees that digital systems cannot function reliably. So I think this is it. Do you have another question?
Thank you very much, Dr. Geeta Ibrahimi. Yeah, I guess you have answered it very much well. Mubashir, are you having any other further questions you can ask?
No, ma'am. Now I have no any question, and I want to go for after it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's take a break now until 1:20, I guess. Thank you very much of all for your time and for your cooperation with us. Thank you very much. See you soon. I'll share the link with you as soon as possible.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I hope you all are doing good, and I hope that I am audible. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
before,
You're audible.
okay, that's great. Okay, so before we dive in, let me give you a little introduction about myself. So, this is Urshumanova Gill, and I did my bachelor's in cybersecurity. And I'm really, really grateful to Girls in Cybersecurity and AI Explained You Science for giving me this platform to talk about the topic that I enjoy the most, that I do as my work. So, a little about myself before we dive in is that I've done multiple internships in IT, in cybersecurity, in multinational companies like PepsiCo and Cybercruza and Trillium. I was also part of Women in Cybersecurity, that is a worldwide organization. And I participated, engaged in their activities, in their programs. I also got voucher to attend the conference in Dallas. And currently, I am junior resource scientist at AI Explain You Science. And I also work part time and I give sessions, cybersecurity sessions, one to one and one to all to UK residents, UK nationals through Future Connect. And as full time, I am mobile application security developer and architect. So with focus on mobile applications. So now let's talk about mobile applications. That is not the most famous niche in cybersecurity. Let me share my screen. So that is the topic that I can explain about the most in a very good way. So my job is a really technical one, but I've created this presentation in a very engaging way. So it will keep us all engaged while keep us all informed about some ongoing threats that we can actually encounter in our daily lives. So mobile applications are those things that we are engaging, interacting with every single day, right? So when we wake up, we are opening our mobile devices, we scroll through some applications, when we are getting bored, we also look like mobile devices are with us at all the time, right? So that is the single most that is the domain that we need to look forward to, and that is a security hygiene that we need to adopt. So let's talk about it. Okay, so before we get into anything, I want to ask you a quick question. Look at those icons: the banking application, the location history, the private messages, photos, videos, safe passwords, payment card. Look at these icons and tell me that how many of you, like how many of these are on your device, on your phone right now. I suppose that everyone, most of us have these, right? We carry that phone, mobile device everywhere, to the bathroom, to the bed, to the bus. And so these are the mobile applications that we are carrying every day. But these have vulnerabilities and these carry risk as well. So, how does the hacker actually get in? So forget about all the things that we have seen in movie, the green code scrolling that we see, that is what hacking is. Then we see the dramatic music, but that is not real. Real hacking is basically is always one of these three tactics and techniques, these three doors. So every attack will ever that you will ever encounter in your life will fall behind one of these. So let's discuss about it. Door number one is that to
as it is needed. Common threats that are there in the cyber fields are that we faces is in the range of phishing, that fake emails is designed to steal our credentials. Then malware and ransomware, which where attackers locks your files and require for a ransomware payment, and then only we will get able to get the file. We also face social engineering attacks where hackers use our um, confidential data and will manipulate in between that. So, in the real world cybersecurity incidents, there aren't just theoretical risk, there are a lot of practical problems are also there. In 2017, if I'm taking an example, there was an attack, ransomware attacks occurred in an hospital across 150 plus countries. So it has exploited the because of the single software vulnerabilities has exploited a lot of fields as were blocked by this attacks. A lot of windows were exploited, were spreaded widely. Data breaches happened, bank fraud has happened. So a lot of things is what happened on 2017 in lot of companies, in lot of countries. So here we will see the cyber security best practice that can help up to a level, so that we are not able getting into the attack as simple as that was seen in 2017. So how do we defense ourselves, that is start by considering or constantly or a habit that increases to take a strong password. Two-time authentication can be done so that our systems will be there based on the two-time authentication. No one can be able to get in. Constantly always keep your system updated to patch the vulnerabilities, avoid the suspicious links, then make use of secure network, and mostly regularly take the backup of your data. Even though one crashes happens, it will be the data, important data or important files that cannot be able to lost. So these are the normal practice that we can do to protect our system up to a level. So if we are mixing it with AI, a powerful partnership will be happening. And this powerful partnership, two field powerful partnership will be happening, and this AI will transform the cyber security by making a defensive system faster and more accurate. While in the traditional tools, as we seen in the previous slide, most struggles to keep up the volume of the.
In 2024, the market is projected to grow more than tenfold, to reaching over to 29 trillion by 2034. So this rapid increase is driven, for example, by the widespread adoption of smart medical devices, remote monitoring technologies, and AI-assisted healthcare solutions. So now, before going further, let's take a look at these pictures. It shows the different IoT application, and you can see the healthcare is one of the major components which naturally led us to the Internet of Medical Things. So building on this contextual overview of IoT, we now examine concrete device example that operationalize this concept in healthcare practice. So for example, we have connected pacemakers, remote ECG sensors, smart hospital beds, and so on. So now the image, as you can see, shows, for example, doctors in Bordeaux remotely controlling a robotic surgery system using a console with joystick and screens. In front of them, we have multiple monitors, for example, display live medical image and video to hospital in China. So if France achieved the world's first intercontinental robotic heart surgery, India followed with its own breakthrough, performing a remote cardiac operation over, I think, 286 kilometers using an ultra-low latency robotic system. And following India's success with the remote cardiac surgery, another remarkable step came from Morocco, where a surgeon performed an operation using the Tomai robot, providing that distance is no longer a barrier in modern medicine. So while this milestone, as you can see, demonstrates the potential of remote surgery, it also exposes system to various cybersecurity risks. This challenge are outlined in the picture below. So we have, for example, the ransomware attack, DOS attack. We have also another challenge of, for example, remote surgery or IoT devices. We have equipment security. We have also communication vulnerabilities, which means that the real transmission of, for example, of surgical command and high definition 3D image between surgeon and the robot via the internet or other networks carries, for example, the risk of hacking. And if the communication platform, as you know, is not properly secured, cyber attacks such as ransomware, denial of service, and so on could compromise the operation. Also, we have another challenge is the protection of sensitive data and authentication and authorization, which means that access to this platform, access to the surgical platform, for example, must be strictly controlled, and poor management of access rights or the absence, for example, of strong authentication system could allow, for example, unauthorized individuals to take control of the robot or manipulate sensitive data. So now let's turn our focus to the various cybersecurity attack or various cyber attack that specifically target IoT system. For example, we have phishing attack. Phishing attack in, for example, in IoT area, like for example, attackers might send an email pretending to be from the manufacturer of the medical device and asking, for example, the patient to update their security information to protect, for example, their cardiac implants. And in reality, this allows the hackers to steal, for example, the patient identification data. Also, we have another attack targeting IoT devices is the ransomware attack, which means that is a type of cyber attack where malicious software encrypts, for example, medical devices, patient record, or hospital system, making them inaccessible. Also, we have denial of service attack. We have also man-in-the-middle attack, which means that occurs, for example, when an attacker secretly intercepts and possibly alters communication between two medical devices, or between a device and the hospital service. Also, we have the SQL injection, which means that, for example, if a mobile health application interacts with an IoT device and send data to a database for processing, so an attacker could exploit this injection to gain access to critical patient information, or to take control of the data collected by medical device. Also, we have another attack targeting IoT devices is the cross-site scripting, which means that an attacker, for example, injects a malicious script into a website where a doctor adjusts setting, for example, of an insulin pump. The malicious script could alter the administrated dosage, compromising the patient safety. Also, we have the zero-day exploit and the DNS spoofing. In this type of attack, for example, or during, for example, a software update of an insulin pump, of a pacemaker, a DNS spoofing attack redirects the update to a malicious server, where malicious code, for example, could be injected, compromising the security of the device. So now, as you can see, the healthcare sector has increasingly become a target of cyber attack, with notable incidents and vulnerabilities directly affecting medical infrastructure, devices, and patient life. And now let's see some cases that demonstrate serious consequences of neglecting cyber security in connected medical environments. The first one, we have the WannaCry attack. So in the WannaCry attack, it's a ransomware attack that happened, I think, in 2017. And for this attack, we have the United Kingdom National Health Service was hit by the WannaCry ransomware, a large cyber attack that locked system and demanded ransomware to unlock them. So we have also another real case is cyber attack against hospital in Düsseldorf, Germany. So this attack also is a ransomware attack that shut down critical hospital system in Düsseldorf, Germany. And this incident emphasizes, or as impact of this incident, we have a patient in urgent need of care had to be transferred to another hospital around 13 kilometers away. Tragically, this delay is believed to have contributed to her death. Also, we have another real cases of attack against IoT devices. We have, for example, vulnerability or Roche insulin pump vulnerabilities. So what happened is we have a security flaw were discovered in a Roche AccuShake insulin pump, and is impact and as impact of this cyber attack, we have hackers could remotely alter, for example, insulin doses, and this could lead, as you know, to insulin, for example, overdose or underdose, and both of which can be life-threatening. Also, we have another vulnerabilities is the vulnerabilities against Medtronic pacemaker in 2019. So, this, in order to overcome this cybersecurity against IoT devices, against, for example, remote surgery, we can apply some traditional security approach, like, for example, signature-based system. But the limitation of this mechanism is we have ineffective against new or unknown attack. Also, the traditional security approach like cryptography and so on had a lack of reactivity. And as you know, in IoT, in healthcare, decisions often need to be made in real time. Also, we have another limitation of applying traditional security approach is manual detection is too slow or impossible, which means that IoT generates massive volume of data which are impossible to monitor manually. So, in order to overcome the limitation of traditional security approach, we can, for example, sorry. So the challenge, we have also another challenge of IoT cybersecurity. For example, handling of high sensitive data, a long life cycle of IoT devices, computing and storage capacity. As you know, the IoT devices had a computing and storage capacity which is limited, and also we have a lack of uniform security standard. So now the question is, what if we could change the game entirely? What if artificial intelligence become, for example, a solution in order to ensure the cybersecurity of IoT devices? So many researchers today have applied some cybersecurity solution using artificial intelligence. Among this solution, we can use, for example, the machine learning and deep learning algorithm in order to be trained on this artificial, or to be trained in this IoT device, this IoT information, and this artificial intelligence will be able to detect cybersecurity attack. Also, we have some group of researchers have used the unsupervised model. So unsupervised model bravely are trained on unlabeled data, and their goal is to discover, for example, hiding patterns such as cluster or anomalies without prior knowledge of the output. And why Kamens works well in IoT? Because we have no need for label attacked data. Also, Kamens this model is computationally simple, suitable for each devices or gateways. And also, it can identify novel or involving cybersecurity attack without prior knowledge. Also, how it works, this unsupervised model, how it works briefly. So we can, the first thing is always, we should that we will combine this prediction in order to generate a final prediction that is accurate and precise compared accuracy of individual model. And we can use popular boosting algorithm like AdaBoost, XGBoost, CatBoost. And among the advantage of using boosting model in order to detect cybersecurity against IoT devices, we have the first thing is the high predictive accuracy. Also, it works well with complex data sets. If we have a complex, for example, data set that data point divide, for example, from this patterns, the agent can classify it as an anomaly or intrusion, triggering a real-time security alert. Also, we can use the federated learning. So federated learning is a machine learning approach that allows model to be trained on local data while preserving data privacy without the need to centralize the data on central server, which means that we can train for example, each machine learning or deep learning model on local devices rather than training model in local devices, which can affect the privacy, the confidentiality of patient-sensitive data. Also, and the trend today is the use of transfer learning in order to detect cyber threats against IoT devices. So the transfer learning, or this technique allow a pre-trained model on different data set to be adapted to a new domain. For example, an intrusion detection model trained, for example, on IoT ecosystem can be reused and fine-tuned for example, our task of IoT of healthcare devices. So the advantage of using transfer learning, we have time efficiency, because we will not start with training the model from scratch. The model is already trained, and just we will fine-tune this model on a smaller task. Also, we have performance improvement and reduced data requirements, which means that we will not train a model, we will not fine-tune, the model on a large data set. We will fine-tune the model just on a small data set, because the model is already trained on a large data set. Also, we can use adversarial learning. So adversarial learning is a technique in machine learning where a model is trained to defend against or have purposed the usage of blockchain with the machine learning or with artificial intelligence. So the blockchain, as you know, provide a tamper-proof and decentralized, ensuring the integrity and traceability of sensitive medical transformed by IoT devices. So each transaction, which means patient vital sign, update, or device action, is securely recorded and traceable across the blockchain. But the question is, why we will use AI with blockchain? So AI, for example, for the blockchain, we have public or hybrid blockchain can generate 2,000 of transaction, as you know, and we can use the artificial intelligence in order to identify abnormal or malicious activity within these flows require intelligent and adaptive algorithm. So artificial intelligence can be used to intelligently monitor blockchain transaction, identifying, for example, abnormal patterns or potential attack like unauthorized data access or abnormal activity. So now let's take a look briefly into some limitation of use.
So sorry for the interruption, Dr. Geeta. Actually, we are having a little like short time, so
Okay.
I guess we are having left with only 7 to 8 minutes maximum. Can
Oh,
we
okay.
conclude in that?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you very much. That would be great. Thank you, Dr. Geeta.
Okay. So I can continue briefly. Okay, so briefly, among the limitation of using AI in security IoT, we have a lack of explainability. As you know, machine learning model or deep learning model are black box model. Also, we have another limitation is bias in training data, and this is particularly dangerous in IoT devices. We have also limited resource on each devices. So most IoT devices are resource constrained, and they have limited, which means they have limited CPU power, memory, and battery life, which make difficult to run complex AI model. Also, adversarial attack, which means AI model can be vulnerable to adversarial input. And so among our future direction or among the perspective futures, in order to overcome this limitation, we can use each AI, which means running artificial intelligence algorithm directly on IoT devices or nearby edge node. We can also use a combination between human and AI collaboration, which means, for example, AI can assist healthcare professional by highlighting potential anomalies, suggesting diagnosis or prioritizing alerts, but the final decision remains with the human expert, with the medical staff. And to conclude, the rise of connected medical devices is transforming healthcare, enabling remote monitoring, personalized treatment, and real-time intervention. But with the innovation comes exposure. The attack surface is expanding, and in healthcare, as you know, a single security breach can be a matter of life and or data. And in this landscape, artificial intelligence for me is not just a trend; it's a critical enabler that allow to detect a threat faster, to respond more attention. Intelligently to cyber attack, and to build systems that can learn, adapt, and evolve alongside the threat. But as you know, poorly designed AI can introduce as many vulnerabilities as it solves, and that's why AI must be integrated with caution, transparency, and ethical recall. And finally, securing IoT with AI is about making technology an ally of trust, an invisible shield in service of human life. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Geeta. That was truly wonderful. And I also want to sincerely apologize that I wasn't able to properly introduce you to the audience earlier as I had joined a bit late. But we truly appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you
But
for
yeah,
your
we still,
thank you
yes,
for
thank you so much.
thank
But
you.
we still have one more amazing speaker from Morocco coming right up, and after that we will be moving toward on to the next part of the session. Ishmael, it is your turn next. You can continue.
All right. So for this session, we are having left with 5 more minutes, I guess. After that, we have Dr. Hajar Faris with us. So before starting her session, I would likely ask you from the audience if you guys have any question. In the 5 minutes, you can ask. Okay, Mubashir, sure, you can ask. Over to you, Dr. Geeta.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, Dr. Inam.
I personally have a question from Dr. Geeta. Am I audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. You are
Okay,
perfectly
okay.
audible.
So the thing is that recently on our website AI Explain Science, we was having a lot of attacks, and the most dominant one was ransomware. So, what comes up in your mind that how we can defend our websites and these things from these kind of attacks? How you will answer this? And have any practical direct experience in these attacks? Like, have you worked on it previously or not?
Your question, I think, is how can we secure the attack against websites? Yes.
Yeah. Because recently we
Yes.
faced some, to be very honest, it was attacks from many countries, and we was also stuck because of about 1 week. Even they took all of our data, and it was really tough for us to recover all of the things. So that's why I just need to ask you that how we can do that.
So we can use, for example, the quantum machine learning or the quantum artificial intelligence in order to secure this. Is more, I think, is more resilient and more robust to this type of attack.
Any tool you can say about it that we can utilize any tool to secure our web security and something like that?
Um, no, so I don't have, but I will research on this and I will share with you.
Okay, that's great. But I personally admire your skills because I see you a lot in many places. You are
Eh,
delivering such good sessions, and I'm proud to have you here on this platform. It's
thank
a
you.
great to have you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you. Thank you. Uh, if we have another question,
Ma'am, I already sent you a message. Please read it and reply. Ma'am, would you hear me?
yes, I hear you. Yes. What
Ma'am,
is your question?
I sent you a message. Please read it and reply.
Okay. How does combining feature selection like usually improve the detection in IoT traffic compared to using raw data? Yes, so for the combining feature selection method like ridge regression and recursive feature elimination. So for this technique or this feature selection technique, will select just the important features, and these important features will be combined, and we will be the selected features by, for example, recursive feature elimination and ridge regression will be integrated into machine learning and deep learning. So the usage of feature selection, the first thing can minimize, for example, the noise in the data, which means that we will select just the important data, just the important IoT data, and this we will also make the training data, make the prediction more fast than using or that training a model on a large on for example on a we can say on the all, for example, features. So I think it I it's good.
Noted, ma'am. It's clear. Ma'am,
Okay.
I have one more question.
Okay. Yes. How do ransomware and phishing attack exploit weakness in IoT? Yes. IoT system. So for the phishing attack, like we see, for example, an attackers will send an email pretending to be sent from a legitimate peacemaker, and for legitimate peacemaker, and this phishing attack, for example, the patient, for example, will click on this link on this email that's pretending, for example, to be from the insulin pacemaker, and then, for example, in this link, for example, the patient will see that they demand here to insert, for example, their information data, their password, their login in order to access the platform, and this is for the phishing attack. For the ransomware attack, is the case, especially of the cyber or the WannaCry attack that happened in 2017. So in this attack, for example, the attackers will send, for example, or will violate the information, the patient information data, and will damage, for example, via the backdoor attack, via the vulnerabilities in, for example, in the platform or in the digital healthcare system. And the attacker will demand a ransom, which always be on Bitcoin, and how we can see, in order to give this information to patient data. So the attackers will demand a ransomware from this patient or from the national healthcare system. And as I told you, this ransomware also on the Bitcoin. Good.
Okay, ma'am. Noted, ma'am. If you don't mind, can I ask one more question?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I have sent it you.
Or yes, how can attackers use phishing and SQL multi-devices? SQL injection. So for the SQL injection is that this. So in phishing attack, like I told you, so the attacker might send, for example, an email pretending to be from the manufacturer of the medical devices, asking the patient to update their security information. But in reality, this allows hackers to steal the patient identification data for example, from the link that is sent in the phishing attack. For the SQL injection attack against IoT devices, for example, we have a mobile health application that interact with IoT device and send data to database for processing. Okay, so an attacker could exploit an SQL injection to gain access to critical patient information, to modify, for example, from the database in order to take control of the data collected by the medical devices, the data stored or collected by medical devices. It's good?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
With pleasure.
All right, thank you very much for all of your hearing and all of your precious time for this thing. Dr. Geeta Lazrak, it was very great hearing from you. All of this, you have answered very much questions as well. And it is truly informative for all of us that you guided us in such a very good way. And truly increase our knowledge. It was very much great for this your session, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have shared a link with all of you in the groups. Kindly join that because we have one more incredible speaker as well, and many more I can say. So our next speaker will be Dr. Hajar Faiz. So let's do this. Thank you very much. Join that link again. Thank you.
So let me share my screen. Thank you. Thank you. So as we have said, we are gathered at a pivotal moment in technological history, one defined by the convergence of cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things. In this presentation, I'm going to start with the introduction. Next, I will talk about the expanding digital attack surface. After that, I will discuss the dark side of AI in cybersecurity.
All right, so let's talk about the topic. So that is inside the mind of a mobile app hacker. So I myself is developing mobile applications and testing mobile applications, iOS and Android. So that is the topic that I can explain about the most in a very good way. So my job is a really technical one, but I've created this presentation in a very engaging way. So it will keep us all engaged while keep us all informed about some ongoing threats that we can actually encounter in our daily lives. So mobile applications are those things that we are engaging, interacting with every single day, right? So when we wake up, we are opening our mobile devices, we scroll through some applications, we when we are getting bored, we also look, like mobile devices are with us at all the time, right? So that is the single most like that is the domain that we need to look forward to, and that is a security hygiene that we need to adopt. So let's talk about it. Okay, so before we get into anything, I want to ask you a quick question. Look at those icons: the banking application, the location history, the private messages, photos, videos, safe passwords, payment card. Look at these icons and tell me that how many of you, like, how many of these are on your device, on your phone right now? I suppose that everyone, most of us have these, right? We carry that phone, mobile device everywhere, to the bathroom, to the bed, to the bus. And so these are the mobile applications that we are carrying every day. But these have vulnerabilities, and these carry risk as well. So, how does the hacker actually get in? So, forget about all the things that we have seen in movie, the green code scrolling that we see, that is what hacking is. Then we see the dramatic music, but that is not real. Real hacking is basically is always one of these three tactics and techniques, these three doors. So every attack will ever that you will ever encounter in your life will fall behind one of these. So let's discuss about it. Door number one is that to trick you, that is social engineering. Have you ever heard about social engineering?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay, so basically, social engineering is that in which a hacker is not trying to hack your device, but they're trying to hack you. They are trying to trick you, manipulate your mind, and hack your mind. So that is the first trick that they are trying to do. There is no coding involved, no hacking tools. It's just convincing you to actually hand over your confidential details, your confidential data to that hacker. Then the second door is to exploit your applications and your devices. That is app vulnerabilities. If you are downloading an application, let's say, and you don't even know about that application, and that application contains some vulnerabilities, so the hacker can easily get inside your data. They can carry, like, your mobile devices carry each and every confidential data about yourself, right? So they can have those through those vulnerabilities if you are downloading those vulnerable applications. And that covers up to 15% of mobile breaches. But the most scary part is social engineering, that is tricking your that is manipulation of your mind. That covers 82% of all the attacks, and they start from here. Then we have the door number three, that is spy the signal. That is network attacks. So they can intercept your data while travel over your Wi-Fi, and that covers up to 3%, but that is 100% preventable. How so? You can use VPNs, you can use other security parameters, and that is preventable. Moving forward over to the next slide, that is social engineering and human manipulation. So let's talk deeper about it. So I love this quote that is on the slide, that most advanced firewall in the world cannot protect you from convincing a lie. That is all social engineering and human manipulation actually is. So, what is social engineering? Social engineering basically is, instead of hacking, for example, um, XYZ is my victim. So instead of hacking that XYZ device or their mobile phone, that would be really tricky, that would be technical, that might be difficult for me, right? If I'm not like much technical, or I don't know how to exploit that vulnerability. So instead of doing that, I will try to make them accept a lie, and I will try to manipulate their mind, hack their mind instead. So that is what social engineering is. And social engineering means that you are manipulating a human being, not just a computer. You are doing something that will help the attacker in return. So let me give you an example. So making you click a link, that is social engineering. Making you call back a number through some social tactics, that is social engineering. Making you install an application, or making you read an OTP, OTP to out like OTP to you, that is social engineering. So no coding is required for that. So here is what here is I think that everyone needs to remind themselves that 82% of all the data breaches involves a human making a mistake, not just a computer flaw or vulnerability. So that is human mistake, right? So humans are the most weakest link to the security chain. Now, let's talk about how hackers are exploiting your brain. So there are different emotional buttons that they try to exploit. They are not trying to exploit your phone, your devices, but they're trying to test those buttons. First one is fear. Now, how they how they use that emotional button fear is that, let me give you an example. For example, your account will be suspended in 24 hours unless you verify now. That is fear. You will you will be fear that, oh, my account will get suspended, so let's just click on this link. So that is the emotional button that they use. Then we have greed. Greed means that they will email you, they will text you that congratulations, you have won $50,000 and claim it within 1 hour. Click on the link, download an application. So that is greed. You will get greedy that, oh, I will get that amount, so let's download it. Let's click on that link. So uh, greed is another emotional factor that they are using. Now, next thing is urgency. So this offer will expire in 14 minutes, and act now before it is gone forever. So that is an example of urgency. There would be urgency. So that is human mind and human psychology, that when there is urgency, we try to just act on a thing instead of thinking about it, right? So there is no time for you to think, no time to question. You will just click on that link. Maybe in maybe you will get greedy, like, let's just use that offer. So that is urgency. Then the fourth one is trust. So they will try to call, or they will try to contact you as a legitimate link. Like, they will call you, like, I'm from bank, I am from your office, I'm your boss, and we need to talk about the details. Please send me your details, that file, that XYZ file. And you will send them because you think that is that is a legitimate party. But in fact, they're just manipulating you, they're just misleading you. Then the fifth one is helpfulness. So they will try to ask for help. Now, human nature is that we try to help others, right? So that is our first response to anyone if they ask for any help. So they will say, let me give you an example, that I forgot my ID at home. Can you just let me borrow your login once? So that is helpfulness. You will try to help them, and in fact, they are just tricking you, they are just manipulating you. Now, fifth one is social proof. So they will say, you will get a text, you will get an email, or maybe a call, and they will say that everyone in the office are getting benefited with this offer. Why are you not availing this offer? Get this offer, click on this link, download this application, and you can benefit from it as well. So that is a social proof. You will say that that XYZ person didn't this application didn't harm that person. So why would this application would harm us? So that is a human nature, that you will try to download it, right? So these are six major things that the six major emotional buttons that hackers are trying to use to exploit your mind. And that is all involved in social engineering. Now let's discuss about three main attack channels. So these, because you know that chances are very high that at least one of these have arrived in your inbox or on your phone this week. So first thing is phishing. So phishing is one of the type of subtype of social engineering, and it always occur through emails. Now you will get an email from your bank that will contain the same logo as your bank, same color, same font, and it will say that your account is frozen. Click on this link, type the password, and it will, and just gave it to a stranger to another country. That is not a legitimate your bank application, but that was another application that was acting like a legitimate application. So that is phishing, and they will they have. Okay. Now the red flags in phishing is send an email, you need to look at it. Then extreme urgency. There would be extreme urgency that your account will get suspended in 24 hours. You won't be able to, you won't be able to do any transactions. So click on this link, download an application, etc. Or maybe there would be a link in the URL that won't be matching with your real bank application. So you can verify from those red flags. Then we have smishing. So smishing occurs through SMS. Smishing basically is also a subtype of social engineering, but that occurs through SMS. For example, you will get an SMS that your parcel could not be delivered, track it from this link, and you will try to track it, but that link wasn't an secure or encrypted link. You will click on it, and now the hacker, whatever you are doing on that link, the hacker will be seeing each and every detail. Now, the red flags that you need to see is unknown number. If anyone is sending you an SMS from unknown number, that is not a saved account, or that is not from an official organization, you need to discard it. Then URL. If that URL ends with XYZ, or if it starts with HTTP instead of HTTPS, that means that is not secure URL. Then if that URL is asking for cards, CNIC details, etc., via link, then that is a red flag. Then the third type of the main attack channel is wishing. And wishing is also subtype of social engineering, and that occurs through phone call. So, for example, hi, I'm from your bank fraud department, and there is a suspicious activity on your account, and you just need to verify it. You need to just verify it. Now, the things that we need to see in a wishing, if they claim from a bank, and they ask you that this is the OTP that we have sent on your mobile phone, you just need to speak it out loud. So you never need to share that OTP. You never need to, if they are asking for the OTP, passport, or CNIC, you don't need to do that. They will try to create panic about your account, your tax, but you need to ignore it. Now let's do an activity that is completely straightforward. So here are some 4 messages, and you just need to tell me what is real, what is fake. You need to tell me the reason. Like, you can see from it that maybe A1 is fake, B1 is original email. You need to tell me why that is fake one. Anyone wants to participate in this activity? You just need to spot the phishing attack. As we discussed in the previous slide, that phishing is occurs through email. So here are example of 4 emails from different organizations, and you need to detect a phishing email. Anyone?
आप क्वेश्चन को दोबारा कर दें।
All right. I'm asking that we just discuss about, am I audible? Hello? Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm asking that we just discuss about that one of the subtype of social engineering is phishing, right? So that occurs through emails. So I have included 4 emails in it. We have 4 types of emails. You just need to find out the fake one, the phishing email out of all these 4 ones. And you need to tell me, how did you identify it?
Ma'am, should I give you the answer?
Sure, sure. Go on.
The A is fake because
Hmm.
this email address looks suspicious.
Yes.
The real Google emails usually come from the official domain like google.com, and this is how it goes.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. And anyone else? Anyone else wants to add something to it? Okay, so you are absolutely correct. A and C are basically phishing. Now, how A is phishing? Let's discuss about it. Now, in A, you can see the email. There are, instead of, that in Google, we have alphabetic zeros, we have alphabetic O's, but instead of O, there are zeros. So they are just trying to act as a legitimate email, but they are not legitimate. So if you will get any email from these, like that are like these, so you just need to find the red flag and you need to discard it. Then we have the second one that is actually from Google, and that looks like this. Then we have the D one is also an original one. Now the C one is not is also, it is smishing because it is SMS, and you can see that that is not from an organization, that is a random number, and that is saying that congratulations, you want some kind of reward and you need to claim it from a link that is HTTP. And we just discussed about that HTTP is not a secure one, that is not an encrypted link, right? So which means that they are trying to trick you, they are trying to manipulate you. Now, this is what we discussed. Moving forward, all right. Now let's discuss about Free App Trap, a story in 5 steps.
So is my screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. So yeah, I think it's almost sleeping time. But anyways, everyone, thank you so much. So yeah, let me start with simple questions. So how many of us use mobile banking and food delivery apps, online shopping, everything? So almost everyone, I hope so. So now think about this carefully. So where every single click we make leaves behind our data. So whether it is of names, phone numbers, locations, and whatever it is. So today data has become more valuable than the oil. So whenever something becomes valuable, attackers follow. So over the last few years, we have seen a massive cyber attacks targeting organizations across the world. So like healthcare systems getting breached, banking database gets leaked, so everything is happening. So but the real question is what happens when your personal information falls into a wrong hands? So stolen password can be changed, but stolen identity, personal records as well as behavior data that can damage last for years. So, and that is exactly why the India has introduced the DPDP Act, which is known as Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. So, this is not just another legal regulation; it's an India's framework for the digital trust. So, what did this DPDP is to answer a critical question is that how should organization responsibly handle the personal data of a people? So it is very important, right? So as a cybersecurity professionals, we always offer focuses on firewalls, SIM, threat detection, SOC monitoring, and everything. So, but today, cybersecurity is no longer only about the protecting systems; it's also protecting about the people. So, because every database there is a behind it there is a human being. So, and I'm just going to start the session. So, yeah, why the DPDP matters? Very important one. So, let me start with a real world scenario. So, imagine a company stores a customer information like names, phone numbers, other details, payment records, everything, and also the main login credentials. So everything seems fine. So then one day, an employee clicks on a phishing email. I hope everyone knows about the phishing email. So within a hours, attackers can gain access to the internet. So the company notices the unusual activity too late. So that's why suddenly customer records are leaked, social media starts reacting. So now here is the important part where in many cyber incidents, the biggest damage is not the malware itself, it is the exposure of the personal data. So that is why the DPDP matters now more than ever. So we are living in the era, so where AI is growing rapidly and cloud adoption is mainly exploding, and also the remote work is also normal. So and with the digital growth comes data exploitation. So where every organizations today is collecting data continuously, but the challenge is many organizations collect the data without fully understanding the responsibility that comes with it. So this DPDP changes that mindset. So it tells the organizations if you collect the personal data, you are accountable for protecting it. So yeah, so and this is where the cybersecurity becomes directly connected to the compliance because without proper security, the privacy fails, the compliance fails, every customer trust will mainly fails. So yeah, moving on to the next slide, where understanding data classification. So now let us go deeper into something extremely important in cybersecurity, where the understanding data itself. Because not all the data is equal. So if you take imagine losing a public marketing brochure, the impact is minimal. So now imagine leaking medical records, banking details, and logging credentials, the impact becomes severe. So this is where the data classification is critical. So let me explain in a simple way. Where think of an organization like a building with multiple rooms, where some rooms contain normal files, some contains confidential financial records, and some contain highly sensitive assets. So do you protect every room with the same level of security? So of course not. So that is exactly how the data security works. Though, so the first category is personal data. So the personal data includes name, email, phone number, and everything. So the second one, which is called as a sensitive data. So where the risk level increases, this includes like financial records, health informations, and everything. So this type of information requires a strong controls like encryption, MFA, role-based access, as well as the DLP. So then comes the critical data, which is the highest risk category. So where this is the critical data, where if compromised, it can affect national security, financial stability, and critical infrastructure. And here is the reality where many organizations still don't know where the sensitive data exists. Like some of it is in cloud, employee laptops, or is shared drives. So before protecting data, the organization must first understand what data do we actually have. So yeah, moving on to the next one, which is a concern management. So now let us talk about the one of the most misunderstood concepts in the privacy. I think most people think consent is just clicking I agree. So, but the real consent is much more, is not much more than that. So let me give an example. So have you installed an app that asks for permissions like contact, camera, microphone, and so on? So all at once. So and most users simply click allow without even reading. So that is where exactly the problem modern privacy laws are trying to solve. So under the DPDP, the organizations cannot hide behind complicated terms and conditions anymore. So the user must clearly understand what data is collected, why it is collected, and how it is being used, and how it will be shared with. So that's that. So in this we have a four steps. What is the first one is a request, inform, withdraw, and consent. So the user must give the request so that it will be informed and withdraw is like if the user need only the specific policies to be enabled, it can be done. Or if the user says I need to delete it, can be withdrawn. And that's where this consent plays a major role in this. So yeah. This is the most important one. So, where for many of the years, the organization has most of the control over using the data. But today, the balance is changing. So, the law now gives the power back to the individuals. So, let us imagine a normal user. So, like named some XYZ. So where he uses the banking apps, e-commerce websites, social medias. So over the years, dozens of organizations collect his personal information. So now that XYZ is asking questions. So what information does the company actually have about me? That becomes the right to access. So we have a right to access, right to correction, right to erasure, right to grievance credentials. So what is the right to access is like giving our authority to the authorized person, not to the unauthorized person. What is the right to correction? So just an inaccurate or incomplete data must be corrected upon the user request. So only all the policies should be enabled based on the users. And right to erasure is like if the user wish not, no, I don't need this, I don't need this policy anymore, I don't need to access this, then he can delete it. So, and also the right to grievance credential is nothing that the organization must provide a mechanism for the users to raise as well as to resolve the complaints. So these are the important rights which has been given to the users. Yeah. So in this, what are the responsibilities given for the organization? So yeah, because under the DPDP, the responsibility does not end with the collecting concern. So in fact, that is where the real responsibility begins. So let us imagine a company handling a customer data every single day, like employee records, customer database, and payment information, everything. So now imagine managing all this data without the proper security controls. A small mistake can have a massive breach. So that is why the DPDP Act places a continuous responsibility on the organizations. So the first responsibility is purpose limitation. So what does this means is like if a company collects the data for one purpose, it cannot be silently use it for another purpose later. So, for example, if the customer gives their phone number for the delivery updates, the organization should not suddenly use it for unrelated marketing campaigns without the proper consent. So, the second responsibility is the implementing security safeguards. And this is where the cybersecurity terms becomes more critical because the privacy without security is very impossible. So, where the organization must implement the access control, encryption, and multi-factor authentication, and so on. So, and one thing I always tell organization is attackers do not break systems first. They look for the weak process and the weak people. So sometimes one exposed credential or one misconfigured cloud bucket is enough to expose a million of records. So the third responsibility is the breach reporting. So, where earlier many organizations tried to hide breaches, but today transparency is becoming mandatory. So, if a significant breach occurs, organization must report it promptly to authorities and affected individuals. So, because delayed response increases the damage. So, and from a cybersecurity standpoint, incident response speed is everything. So, the faster you detect, the faster you contain, the lower your impact. Yeah. I hope this clears you. Next, responding to the data breach. So now let me walk through what actually happens during a real cybersecurity incident. So imagine the scenario, it's just a 2 a.m. So the SOC analyst notices unusual outbound traffic from a production server. So at first it looks like a normal, but within minutes the SIM detects abnormal data movement. So suddenly the security team realizes sensitive customer data may be leaving the network. At that moment, so every second matters. So this is why the breach response is extremely important under DPDP. So the first step is detect. So when an organization must have the visibility. So without monitoring, you may not even know a breach was happened. So that is where the technologies like SIM, EDR, XDR, everything plays a major role. So moving on to the second step is assess. So where the security teams must quickly understand so what data was affected, how many users are being impacted, and was the data is encrypted correctly or not. So because not every incident has the same severity. So moving on to the third one, which is the notify. So where and that is where many organization gets panic. So under DPDP, significant breaches must be reported. So not only to the Data Protection Board, but potentially to affect the individuals as well. So yeah. Now finally comes to the remediate. This means that so were containing the attack, closing vulnerabilities, and resetting credentials. And here is the important one which you notice is a breach itself is a dangerous one. So, but poor response to a breach can be even more damaging. So now, which is the main important one, important slide. So, where penalties. So, because regulations become serious when the financial consequences becomes real. So, under the DPDP, where the non-compliance can result in extremely the high penalties. So, but I want everyone to understand something carefully. So, the biggest the damage is often not the fine itself. So, it is a loss of the trust. Am I right? So, well, so imagine the heading appears itself like a company failed to protect the customer data. So within hours, customer lose confidence, investors react, so the brand reputation drops. So the trust built over the years can disappear overnight. So now financially, the penalties can go up to hundreds of crores depending on the severity of the violation. So this includes failures like poor security practices and also the failures to protect the data. So, and this is very important one. The law evaluates organizations based on their accountability. So, in cybersecurity, documentation becomes extremely important because during investigations, if it is not documented, it is assumed it was not done. So, but beyond the penalties, there is another hidden impact, which is an operational disruption. So, after major violations, the organizations may face audits, complaints, reviews, and everything. So today, compliance is no longer separate from the cybersecurity strategy. So they are now deeply interconnected. So if maximum, so up to rupees 250 crore is the maximum penalty which the government is giving. And for some other like a minimal one, it is around 50 crore. And like this, we have a plenty of 10 more plus penalty tiers which has been given by the government. So yeah, I have taken some of the use cases. So yeah, now let us move from the theory into the real world cybersecurity scenario. So because one of the biggest risks today is not always the external attackers. Sometimes the threat comes from inside the organization. So like imagine an employee working late at night. So he has access to a customer database containing like a phone numbers, PAN details, addresses and everything. So now suppose he tries to send the information to his personal email, maybe intentionally or maybe accidentally. So without a proper controls, the data is gone within a second. So this is where that DLP comes into the place, becomes more powerful. So think of a DLP as an intelligent security guard for the data. So in this DLP, the first step is that detect one. So the DLP system scans the outgoing emails and files continuously. So it looks for the sensitive pattern like PAN numbers, Aadhaar cards, and credit card informations. And the next step is a block and alert. So where if policy violation is detected, the system can block the email, encrypt the content, and alert the SOC team. And this happens automatically in the real time. So, and finally comes to the prevention. So, the data never leaves the organization. And this is the key idea where the modern cybersecurity is not only about detecting the attacks. Yeah, it's about the preventing data exposure before the damage occurs. Yeah, moving on to the next use case, which I have took, which is a cloud upload monitoring. Now let us look at the another modern challenge, which is the cloud security. So where today employees use Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive. So where the cloud adoption has made a business faster and more flexible. So but it has also created a new security risk. So now imagine an employee uploading a confidential customer file to an unapproved cloud storage platform. So maybe they simply want to work from home faster. So, but from a cybersecurity perspective, that file has now moved outside the organizational visibility, which is called as shadow IT. So, and this is one of the most modern cybersecurity concerns. So, whereas now the challenge becomes how do organizations monitor data movement across the cloud environments? And again, this is where the DLP and cloud monitoring solutions becomes the important one. So the first stage is the monitoring, where the security tools continuously monitor upload activity, file transfers, cloud applications, and everything. And moving on to the second one, which is a classify one. So where the system analyzes the file and identifiers whether it contains sensitive customer data, financial information, and finally so, yeah, and finally comes to the enforcement. So, based on the policy, the organizations can block the uploaded one, encrypt the file, and quarantine the content. And this is where the future of cybersecurity, where the real-time intelligent protection comes into the picture. So because the organization today no longer operate inside a single office network where the data is everywhere like cloud, hybrid environments, SaaS applications and mobile platforms, which means security also has become a more everywhere. So not only in a single place. Yeah. Here is a main use case where an employee tries to copy data to a USB device. So now let me show another real world incident in a threat scenario. So imagine the situation. An employee is preparing to leave the organization. Before resigning, he connects a personal USB device to his office laptop. So within minutes, he started copying where the customer records, financial spreadsheets, and internal project files. Now he's a scary part. So where without a proper endpoint protection, the organization may never even know the data was copied. So no malware, no external hacker, no ransomware, just a silent data theft. And in today's world, incident threats are becoming one of the biggest cybersecurity risks because employees already have access. So that is where why endpoint DLP becomes extremely important. So at the moment the USB device is connected, the DLP agent begins monitoring activities where it checks like what files are being copied, whether the data is sensitive, whether the device is authorized. So everything it just finds. So and if suspicious activity is detected, the system can block the transfer, disable the user device and encrypt the data as well as it alerts the SOC team instantly. So that's fair. So now you think about this more carefully. The goal of the modern security is not just building a strong walls because today the threat may already be inside the building. So which means the organization must continuously monitor the data movement, user behavior, endpoint activity. And this is where the cybersecurity shifts from the reactive security to a proactive defense. So yeah, and actually, thank you. So I hope I missed my introduction starting. And this is Darshni. I'm working as a cybersecurity consultant at a cyberspace. So where I'm taking care of DLP data loss protections and EDRs and firewalls. So every solutions we are giving in a customized way to the customers. So and also we are doing a BAPT services and red teaming assessments. Yeah. So this is about a short intro about us, about me. And thank you for this wonderful opportunity for the team who has been invited.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Actually, the audience are having some questions.
Yeah.
Yes, you can ask.
Hello.
Yes, Anika, you can ask the question.
How can
Good
AI?
evening, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening.
Uh, how can
Uh,
how can AI and cybersecurity
yeah.
helps prevent NEET UG question paper leaks before they happen?
So I think just a fresher. I just completed my graduate recently. So I think instead of printing a fixed paper days before the exam, so AI can generate a unique question that which sits before the exam starts from a massive encrypted question bank. So where I hope this reduces the leak window almost to zero. So where the similar AI-based systems are already being adopted in the Indian government recruitment exams. So I hope I have cleared. So I completed my graduate in BSc Computer Science with Cybersecurity, and I have joined my company just 5 months before.
Ma'am, since you also know that AI has replaced many things,
Yes.
and can AI replace cybersecurity now or in future?
I was also being doubtful in this question, but I tried. But there is a lot of opportunities in cybersecurity. So yes, we are using the AI, but it is not replacing and everything. So there need to be a security protected against the AI. So where cybersecurity plays major role than the AI. So I hope there for the cybersecurity there is a massive opportunity for everyone. So yeah. So
And
you can
ma'am,
try. Yeah, yeah.
how do we know if our device is being hacked or has already been hacked?
So if a system or it automatically gets slowed down if your system has been injected any of the malwares or anything. So, and the usual things as will become the unusual ones. And if you have a task manager, you can just go, or if you have a process explorer, you can just see like any suspicious file has been detected or not. So based on that, you can just easily find. So the basic one is the system will get slowed down automatically. So based on that, you can just identify that.
Okay, got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was truly wonderful having you with us today, and like we really appreciate your time and your valuable insights. And your session added great value to our event Girls in Cybersecurity. Thank you once again for being a part of it.
Yeah.
And like before we conclude, I would like to mention that one of our speaker who was like previously scheduled but couldn't join us earlier has now rejoined us, and we are truly grateful for that. We will now proceed to the next section. I am sharing the new link. Kindly join us there. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
From the organizing team, can someone start sharing those
Yes, sir.
so
I'm
that
gonna start. I'm gonna start.
yeah,
This is Juliana.
yeah. So thank you very much for having me in this conversation, particularly Professor Inamullah Khan, the initiative he has taken and the wonderful deliberation all the day were happening here. So I was on and off the part of those conversations because I was traveling today. Most of the time I was in air, and that's why I could not present myself at the time when I was supposed to be. And then I was asked to be here in the uh, closing ceremony with few of my words. So thank you one again of organizing such a seamless uh, flow of the event and on such a wonderful topic, in fact, girls in cybersecurity. So till the time my slides are appearing in front of you, somebody is trying from that side. So I would be in fact summing up how the girls in cybersecurity would be making a diverse defenders force for the future. So future requires everybody's contribution irrespective of the gender, in fact, while we are fighting against the threat of cybersecurity. My name is Dr. T.P. Singh. I'm a senior professor of artificial intelligence, in fact, but working into various cross domains, the applications of AI. I'm founding vice chancellor of one of the leading university in India, Chandigarh University, which is in QS world ranking is 535 and among top 2%. So can someone advance the slide to the next one, please?
Yes, sir, sure. Let me share this with the game.
Should I share?
Okay, please let me know if it's sharing now.
No, it is not visible, in fact, on the screen. It came, the first slide came, and then it went off, in fact. Yeah, this is now. Can you advance to the next slide, please? Yeah, perfect. Can you make it full screen somehow? Because the screen is not completely visible. Make it minus. Yeah, perfect. So I hope all the audience is able to see the slide. Okay, so why the cyber security matters? In fact, the cyber crime is expected to cost the world a humongous $11 trillion annually, which is really huge if we look into. AI-driven cyber attacks are not only increasing into the financial domain, which is banking, but across other fields, maybe healthcare, maybe education, maybe into the governance. And due to all those regions, every organization across the world today needs cyber professionals. When I talk about the cyber threats, I take a very small example of cyber threat in the field of healthcare. Nowadays, and don't take it into the spirit when I'm saying digital murders are happening. What is a digital murder? Suppose in a hospital, some cyber intrusion has happened into the data of which is very secure, which is very sensitive data of patients. Now, suppose a patient is admitted there. He was supposed to be given a blood group of X, say A positive. Somebody intruded into that and changed the record of that patient, and the blood group has been changed to say O or A negative or a contradictory blood group which was supposed to be given. Now, when AI and AI-driven systems are taking upfront nowadays to help the doctor or medical person came, he or she checked the records and found that, yeah, this particular blood group has to be infused, and immediately that was infused. Now, it will not take more than few minutes for that patient to go off. So this is a way of a crime which may happen just due to the leakage or intrusion into the medical data, and that too lively, altering the medical data lively. So that is the hype of what we can imagine about the cyber crimes to the level. Why girls have a strong scope in this field? Because the theme of the entire today's discussion was girls in cyber security. Cyber security is not only about coding; it has got certain other values to be thought of. Critical thinking it requires, communication it requires, attention to very minute details is required, ethical decision making is required, and team collaborations is required. So if putting all these things together, we look through, studies show that diverse cyber teams may make better security decisions and identify risks more effectively. So when I say diverse cyber teams, so it is irrespective of gender, and here comes the inclusion of the other half of the population, which is our girls. They can be included. By inclusion of those ladies, the teams may be diversified, and they can better lead this critical thinking, communication, attention to detail in more diversified ways when we are identifying the cyber crimes. So there is an opportunity gap. This opportunity gap is leading towards the career opportunity. Just to give you some data points, women represent only 22% of the global cybersecurity workforce. So, being half of the population, the representation is not even a quarter, one fifth, 22%, and that gives the the glimpse of the gap and the opportunities going ahead. So this creates a huge demand and special opportunities for our girls entering the field today. I end up this slide by saying the future of cybersecurity will belong to those who combine intelligence, ethics, creativity, and leadership. And all our girls must start inculcating all these things when they wish to be in the forefront or driving seats of the cybersecurity field. Can somebody change the slide, please, to the next one? Perfect. Perfect. So now, what are the strength areas where girls often excel? And that is also a very calculated and searched upon topic. So and tabulated also.